At first, Richard Coleman thought it was just a strange coincidence. His gray tabby cat, Max, had always been an odd one. Quiet, observant, the kind of cat that disappeared for hours and returned covered in mud, leaves, or water for no obvious reason. But that morning, Max came back carrying something that made Richard freeze in place. A soaking wet $100 bill was clenched gently between the cat's teeth. Richard stared at it, half expecting it to vanish. He checked Max's paws. No injuries, no collar damage, just water dripping onto the kitchen floor and a calm, satisfied look in the cat's eyes. "Where did you get this?" Richard muttered, more amused than alarmed. He chalked it up to a prank, maybe something dropped by a passerby near the creek behind his property. He let it go. That was his first mistake. The next morning, Max returned again. This time, 2 wet bills. The third day, another one. Then another. By the end of the week, Richard had $800 laid out on his dining table, each bill damp, wrinkled, and smelling faintly of metal and chemicals. No 2 bills were stuck together, and none showed signs of being torn or burned. They looked hidden, preserved. Richard stopped laughing. Cats didn't find money like this. Not accidentally. Not repeatedly. Something was wrong. That night, Richard barely slept. He replayed every possibility in his mind. Illegal dumping. A prank gone too far. Or something worse. He lived near long stretches of unused farmland and an old highway that truckers barely used anymore. Places people avoided for a reason. On the 8th morning, Max appeared again at the back door, soaked to the chest, tail low, eyes sharp. No bill this time. Just urgency. That was when Richard made a decision. He ordered a small GPS tracker and clipped it discreetly onto Max's collar. Light enough not to bother him, accurate enough to follow every movement. The next day, Max slipped out just after sunrise. Richard followed the signal on his phone. At first, it led through familiar paths, fields, broken fences, tall grass, but then the trail shifted. Farther, deeper, away from homes, away from people. After nearly 40 minutes of walking, Richard found himself standing beside a deserted stretch of highway, the kind no one stopped on unless they had no choice. That was when he saw Max. The cat was crouched near a concrete drainage culvert beneath the road, pawing wildly at something inside. Water trickled out slowly. The air smelled wrong, sharp, chemical. Richard knelt down, heart pounding, and turned on his phone's flashlight. He leaned closer, and the moment the light revealed what was hidden inside that tunnel, Richard stumbled backward. His hands started shaking, and without hesitation, he pulled out his phone and dialed the police. The police arrived within minutes, their lights cutting through the empty highway like warning flares. Richard stepped back as officers carefully approached the drainage culvert. One of them pulled on gloves and crawled halfway inside, shining a powerful flashlight into the darkness. He froze. "Get a bag," he said quietly. What they pulled out wasn't just loose money, it was a black plastic sack, heavy, sealed tight, wedged deep inside the tunnel. When it was opened on the roadside, the air changed instantly. Inside were bundles of cash, tightly wrapped, stacked with precision. Not hundreds, not thousands, $40,000. Later lab tests revealed something even stranger. The bills were coated in chemical masking agents, substances traffickers used to confuse canine units during highway checkpoints. Days earlier, police had set up a temporary inspection nearby. Someone panicked. Someone dumped the money fast. But the plan backfired. The chemicals meant to repel drug dogs had attracted Max instead. The cat had followed the scent back to the culvert again and again, pulling out single bills each day, completely unaware he was dismantling a criminal operation one trip at a time. Investigators traced the money to a major trafficking ring, already under surveillance. Within weeks, 2 suspects were arrested, and the discovery became a key piece of evidence. As for Richard, he never saw Max the same way again. The cat returned to his quiet routines, napping in sunbeams as if nothing had happened. No more money. No more wet paws. Just silence. But sometimes, when Max stared toward the fields near the highway, Richard wondered how close he'd come to walking past a secret that was never meant to be found, and how a cat, chasing a strange scent, had done what criminals, chemicals, and fear could not expose the truth.